Thank you very much, Sir Chukan, Sir May, and Sir Mingsi for today's Sunday Pūjā chanting. Back with us this week, Brother Ananda Fong is continuing on the lessons from Mangala Sutta, titled Dhamma Well-practised brings Bliss. Over to you, Brother Ananda.
Thank you, Didi Terence. Let me do a short puja. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Today's sharing is on Dhamma well-practiced brings bliss. And of course, for many Buddhists, today happens to be Uposatha, so happy observance and have a fruitful Uposatha also. In the Ita Sutta, the Buddha was talking to some lay people, and the Buddha advised that there are these 5 things that are desirable, beloved, agreeable, but difficult to obtain in the world. What are the 5? That we all want long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. Now, these 5 things, House Lord, the Buddha said, I do not teach that they are to be obtained through prayer, nor through wishing. So it's clear that Buddhists do not pray. And the Buddha continued, if one could obtain them through prayer or wishing, who would not obtain them? And the Sutta continues, for a noble disciple, House Lord, who wishes to have long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven, it is not proper that he should pray for all this. He should rather follow a way of life that is conducive to long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. So clearly, prayer is out of the question, but we have to do something, put action into our lives, follow a way of life, the Buddha advises. And the Buddha continues, by following such a path, he would obtain long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. And so what is this way of life that we should follow? And we continue this study, or rather journey through the Mangala Sutta, which the Buddha lists out all the blessings that we could obtain. And of course, in this particular verse, there are 4 blessings, but today we are talking about blessing number 21, diligence in practice of what is Dhamma. But in the first place, what is Dhamma? Dhamma, most people assume that, oh, it is the teaching of the Buddha. Well, the word Dharma, since it's an Indian word, it came from the Indian continent, there has been many religions coming out of that subcontinent. And the word Dhamma just means doctrine or teaching. But whose Dhamma is it? So Buddhists should not, assume the mindset that anybody who uses the word Dhamma or the Sanskrit word Dharma, Dharma, means the teaching of the Buddha. That is not true, because Dhamma or Dharma means the teaching of that particular teacher. So in this case, of course, today's session is about Buddhist teachings. It's about the teaching or the Dhamma of Gautama Buddha. Whereas when you talk to the people at large in the public, to your friends who may not be Buddhists, who happen to be just reading articles on the social media and so on, when they mention Dhamma, you must be very careful. It could be Hindu Dhamma, Jain Dhamma, and many other kinds of Dhamma. And they are all correct, because it just describes the teaching of that particular religion or that particular teacher. So we have to be very careful as to whose Dhamma are we talking about. Of course, today we are talking about the Dhamma as taught and propagated by Buddha Gautama. So diligence in the practice of what is Dhamma, and the other meaning of Dhamma is also that of which supports our life, the upholds of life. These are the Dhamma in another sense also can be interpreted as all the natural laws in the universe. So In the earlier slides, the Ita Sutta, the Buddha said that we have to follow a way of life. And again, in this blessing, diligence in practice of what is Dhamma. So clearly, when you practice the Dhamma, something happens. So what are we talking about? Now, the pictures below indicate different aspects of Dhamma practice. The bottom left, that of Pintacara, that means the lay people have an opportunity to perform dana, that of giving. The center picture, the giving of life, donating blood. And the right-hand side, that of practice of mental culture, bhavana. And of course, this follow a way of life or diligence in the practice of Dhamma. This diligence in practice, the syllabus is clearly given in the Buddha's teaching on the path to happiness. And this path is the Noble Eightfold Path, and also pictorially given on the right-hand side. And clearly, the word path or the picture, the path, is not just for us to admire at how well the garden is kept. The path brings you from where you are right now to somewhere. Okay, a path is functional if you decide to walk it. So some Buddhists are just what they call coffee table Buddhists, or are they practical Buddhists? Practical means you learn the lessons as taught by the Buddha that show the path, and then you decide to walk it. And when you walk the path, what happens to you? It makes you more noble. Hence, it is called a noble path. And what are the steps you need to walk on? There are 8, not just ordinarily 8, but 8-fold. The word fold is important because all the elements on this path support and help you to achieve that nobility. It is not 8 because it is not a matter of today I choose to practice number 1 on this list. Tomorrow I choose to practice number 2. It's not a pick and choose situation. It's a question of practicing all 8 in various degrees of emphasis, and all 8 factors being 8-fold, they support, they help you to enhance. Together, the 8-fold multiplies very much over and helps you as you walk the path to achieve nobility. And the 8 factors are listed here. Now, in the Dhammapada verse 275, the Buddha said, walking on this path, you will make an end of suffering. Now, that is a clear indication. So the achievement of nobility, the Noble Eightfold Path, gives you nobility. This nobility makes an end of suffering. All kinds of suffering, not just physical suffering, but mental suffering. And the suffering we find in samsara. Now, having discovered how to pull out the thorn of lust, I make known the path. So this is clearly indicating that the Buddha didn't invent this Noble Eightfold Path. It is a discovery. The discovery by the Bodhisattva who became the Buddha underneath the Bodhi tree. And this discovery was able to allow him to pull out the thorn of lust within his own psychic. And then once he made this discovery, he had this realization that he had attained the end of suffering. He made known the path, and he spent 45 years sharing this discovery with humanity. Now, in this commentary, here the author mentions that this particular verse, diligence in the practice of what is Dhamma, can be applied to the aspect of non-negligence in meritorious deeds. This is the first step, a very, very important step. As we want to practice the Dhamma, we have to make sure that what they call hindrances or roadblocks do not hinder our progress along this path. We don't want to have fallen trees and things that block our journey on the path. And therefore, meritorious acts have an important role. But how to achieve these meritorious acts? So this commentary mentions the Pali word pamada means negligence, carelessness, or heedlessness. Now, apamada meaning diligence, effort, and heedfulness in engaging in wholesome Dhamma activities is a great blessing. Now, one should engage in wholesome activities such as dana, sila, bhavana. or giving, moral upliftment, as well as cultivation of the mind. And all these practices should be done with great effort, diligence, and clarity of mind. Impermanence and uncertainty are facts of one's life in this world, and hence one should engage in wholesome and meritorious activities without delay. Now, what this author is trying to say is that wholesome and meritorious activities, which are wholesome activities, helps to remove these roadblocks, obstacles, things that block your journey along the path, and either remove them or prevent it from occurring along the path. So that is the power of meritorious acts, so that you can proceed on the path, the journey, in terms of diligent practice. Now, we come back to this particular Theragatha, Venerable Dhammika Thera, in the Theragatha, verse 303 has mentioned, which I shared in the last month. Dhamma surely protects one who practices Dhamma. The teaching brings happiness when well practiced. This is the benefit of practicing Dhamma. One doesn't go to a bad destination. So there are various aspects. It protects one. It brings happiness. And the benefit of practicing Dhamma prevents you from going to a bad destination. This is some additional aspect of it. Bad destination means what they call a destination or rebirth that is unfortunate, or the later portion of your life. If you were to be doing unwholesome activities now, the later portion of your life may see more and more obstacles blocking your road towards along the path to enlightenment. So bad destination can be in this life or in the next lives. Not just the immediate next life, it could be whenever in the future. We do not know when. The next verse from the Theragatha, verse 304 from Venerable Dhammika, it says, it's not the case that Dhamma and what is not Dhamma lead to the same results. What is not Dhamma leads to hell. So these clearly are the consequences. While Dhamma takes you to a good place. The Pali word is sugating. Sugating is not just a good place, a possibility, a heavenly abode, and so on. And in verse 305 in the Theragatha, the Venerable Dhammika continues to say, so you should rouse up enthusiasm for the teachings. Such rejoicing is owing to the Holy One, the poise. This is referring to the Buddha. The disciples of the best of holy ones are firm in the teaching. Those wise ones are led on, headed to the very best of refuges. So disciples means those who take heed as to what the Buddha has taught and proceed to practice. And in verse 306, Venerable Dhammika continues to say, the boil has been burst from its root. The net of craving is eradicated. So clearly, Venerable Dhammika is describing himself, that he has got rid of the net of craving within his psyche. He has ended transmigration. He has nothing. It's like the full moon on the bright night. Now, he has ended transmigration. Here, we are talking about ended his wandering in samsara. So that, which means he has attained arahathood, and which means he is no more to be found in samsara after his passing. So that ends for him the rounds of continued suffering. Now, in this particular sutta, the Punya Kiriya Vatu Sutta from the Iti Buddhaka, the Buddha even advises monastics. And the Buddha says, because there are these 3 grounds for making merit. What 3? One should train in deeds of merit that yield long-lasting happiness. What are they? Dana, Sila, Bhavana, that of giving, of moral cultivation of virtues, and mental development. Now, that yield long-lasting happiness, which means meritorious actions, of Dana, Sila, Bhavana provide us with long-lasting happiness. By cultivating these three things, these yielding happiness, the wise person is reborn in bliss in an untroubled, happy world. So clearly, the Buddha here in another location or in the Tipitaka clearly emphasizes this important benefit of making marriage, of cultivating this Dana, Sila, and Bhavana. And in this particular sutta, the Dana Samvibhaga Sutta from the Iti Vuttaka, the Buddha says, if beings knew, as I know, the result of giving and sharing, they would not eat without having given, nor would they allow the stain of meanness to obsess them and take root in their minds. So here, in another location at Tipitaka, the Buddha re-emphasizes the importance of dana. Now, here is an extract from a sutta in which the Buddha was having a conversation with General Siha in the Siha Senapati Sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 5. Here, in the an extract from the sutta, the Buddha was mentioning certain what they call virtues of having practice giving, practice dana. Just because earlier the General Siha was asking the Buddha, what are the benefits that we can see here and now? Now, the here and now is a very important aspect because in many religions, we talk about that if you practice our religion, you will see the benefit. The only trouble in some religions, when they say you see the benefit, is that the benefit is after you pass away. So the characteristic of the Dhamma, as we went through the puja earlier, the Pali word sandittika, here and now. So even as you practice according to what the Buddha advised, you're conforming to the natural law, and this natural law takes effect in this very life. Don't talk only about the next life or future lives, but you are able to see the results here and now. So, and then the Buddha gave a list of advices. So, and this extract of sutta starts with, when this was said, so the list was given by the Buddha, General Siha said to the Blessed One, as for the four fruits of giving visible in the here and now that have been pointed out by the Blessed One, it's not the case that I go by conviction or confidence in the Blessed One with regard to them. I know them too. Now, this particular line, I know them too, is very, very important. Very often in religions, we talk about, oh, I believe in this religion. I'm of this faith. Faith equals belief. But here, General Siha is clearly saying that it's not the case that I go by faith or conviction or confidence in the Blessed One. I know them too. So the practice as taught by the Buddha is not that the Buddha wants you to believe him. He wants you to know it too. So the only way you can know it too is when you have put the teachings into practice, you have gone beyond belief, you have gone beyond faith, and therefore you realize the effects, the benefits, the repercussions of those teachings. And that portion is very, very important. So in Buddhism, we want to go away from mere belief to I know them too. I have experienced the results of those practices also. Okay, I realize the effects of those practices. And this is the way in which you can verify that what the Buddha's teaching is what I call true, and not just mere trusting another person whom you do not know. And General Siha continues, I'm one who gives, a master of giving, dear and charming to people at large. Good people, people of integrity, admire General Siha. My fine reputation, General Siha's fine reputation is spread far and wide. They say Siha is generous, a doer, a supporter of the Sangha. When I approach any assembly of people, whether noble warriors, Brahmans, householders, or contemplatives, I do so confidently and without embarrassment. So these are the lists of what I call things, if you practice dana, you're a master of dana, what happens? You see this result immediately in this very life. You're the here and now. Of course, the sutta continues. And the General Seer mentioned that as far as what the Buddha has said earlier, that you will be reborn in a good place in the heavens later, General Seer is not able to verify that because he is still alive here and now. So because of what the Buddha has advised in the here and now and the long list, and he also knows it too, he realizes it too, he experiences it here and now, he trusts the Buddha as the Buddha's forecast that on General Seer's passing away, that he too will be born in the heavens. Okay, but here the emphasis is that you can see the results of your practice here and now. And the way to do that is to practice them until you realize them, you experience them. And in the words of General Seer, I know them too. So gone is the word believe. There's no need to believe anymore. And again, what do we practice? At the basic level, all Buddhists, the Buddha has advised that we should practice the 5 precepts. Pancha Sila. Pancha meaning 5, Sila means precepts or the moral training. And the 5 precepts is about abstention. And we recited just now, or reminded ourselves in the puja earlier, that we should abstain from killing living beings, abstain from taking what is not given, abstain from sexual misconduct, abstain from false speech, abstain from taking intoxicants which cause heedlessness. All these 5, what does this abstention or this practice do? It prevents us, it protects us from making unwholesome energies, what we call karmic energies, that have a potential to take effect in the here and now, in the later portions of this life and even in the next life, which causes us to be born in bad destinations or have bad experiences in this very life, the balance of this life. So abstention, the practice of 5 precepts, protect us from bad situations which are unpleasant, which we want to avoid. But the 5 precepts also come with something positive. And this aspect of positiveness is called the 5 ennoblers. Why? The word ennoblers is important because it ennobles, it makes us more noble. That means it gets us further along the Noble Eightfold Path. So what are the 5 ennoblers? They are the direct opposite of the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts are about abstention. So now we're talking about cultivating the opposite of killing. So we want to save lives. We want to be generous, contented. We want to be truthful in our speech. We want to be mindful, and so on. So 5 ennoblers help us to cultivate and strengthen our karmic energies, and therefore it produces positive energy which comes back in the here and now and the hereafter as positive energies that make our journey along the Noble Eightfold Path possible, as well as our lives in the here and now more pleasant. And here further, in the Dhammapada verse number 18, the Buddha says, the doer of good delights here and hereafter. He delights in both the worlds. The thought, good have I done, delights him, and he delights even more when gone to realms of bliss. Now here's particular Dhammapada verse clearly say, the doer of good, that means you have been doing the ennoblers, practicing the ennoblers and more. You delight here, that means in the here and now. So in the Sandidika, that means the effects of karmic energies. In the here and now, you delight here. You have a pleasant life here, as well as in the hereafter. And you delight in both the worlds. And towards the bottom, he delights even more when gone to realms of bliss. Realms of bliss means after passing away, in the hereafter, you've gone to happy worlds, realms of bliss. Now here, we want to go to a few suttas, a few lectures by the Buddha that talk about how do you determine what is good or bad? What are the roots of, what are the, what they call, the things that enable us to identify which action is good and bad, other than those listed in the 5 precepts and so on. In this particular sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, book of 6, the Kamma Nidana Sutta, Kamma meaning the what they call actions or deeds, Nidana meaning source. So the sutta starts with monks. There are these 3 sources or Nidana that give rise to deeds. What 3? Greed, hate, and delusion are sources that give rise to actions. And greed, the Pali word is lobha, hate is dosa, delusion is moha. And what follows seems very commonsensical, but some people want to argue the other way around. And the Buddha clearly makes certain that we don't get confused. Greed doesn't give rise to non-greed. Rather, greed gives rise to greed. Hate doesn't give rise to non-hate. Rather, hate gives rise to hatred. Delusion doesn't give rise to non-delusion. Rather, delusion gives rise to delusion. Seems very commonsensical to us. On a practical sense, for the mundane world, we are familiar with this picture, the picture that of a mango seed. If you were to plant the mango seed, it definitely doesn't give rise to pomegranate. Okay, this is the root, this is your seed. The mango seed gives rise, obviously, common sense will tell us that if the tree grows to maturity and well taken care of, it will produce further mango fruits. So a mango seed will give mango fruits. It doesn't give you pomegranate. So clearly, greed gives rise to greed. Hatred gives rise to hate. Delusion gives rise to delusion, not otherwise. Seems very commonsensical. Now, it's not because of deeds born of greed, hate, and delusion that gods, humans, and those in any other good places are found. Now, this statement is important because if your actions are rooted, are motivated by greed, hate, and delusion, you cannot expect to be born in good places. Good places means of the gods, it means as in the Deva world, in the another future existence as humans and other good places. Rather, it's because of deeds born of greed, hate, and delusion that hell, the animal realm, the ghost realm, or any other bad places are found. And here in the Pali, in yellow, I underline hell. The Pali word is niraya, animal realm, tirachana, ghost realm, peta world, or more commonly, what other translators use the word peta, meaning hungry ghost. And other what they call bad places or unhappy places, places which are dukkhating, dukkha. So these are 3 sources that give rise to this. But unfortunately, if it's motivated by greed, hatred, or delusion, then you make karmic energies that propel you into unhappy situations, and in the next life, in unhappy places. So clearly, this particular portion of the sutta tells us that life is not the matter of this top picture, that we are born, we live a life, we pass away, but there is future lives. There is rebirth. And this rebirth is again and again and again, what we call samsara. And since this particular portion of the sutta mentions certain parts of the planes of existence or realms of existence, the Buddha, underneath the Bodhi tree upon enlightenment, discovered that there are 31 realms of existence. And since we were talking about realms of the bad places, in the sensual realms or Kama Loka, we have the unhappy realms listed right at the bottom left, the brown box, apaya or realms of misery or bad places. And in the sutta, there's mentioned number 1, the hells or niraya. Number 2, the animal realm, tirachana. Number 3, hungry ghosts or peta worlds. Number 4, demons, asuras. Fortunately, the human realm is not here, but not far away. Okay, the number 5, that is the human world, Manusa Loka. So we are not far from the what they call bad places, as they say. But the humans are classified as happy destinations. Of course, some may disagree because in Manusa Loka, we both see heaven and hell on earth. You can see people who are suffering. Maybe we ourselves are suffering. And we can see people who are enjoying themselves. So we can see heaven and hell right among humans also. And the sutta continues. Monks, there are these 3 sources that give rise to this. What 3? Non-greed, non-hate, and non-delusion are sources that give rise to these. Non-greed, alobha. Non-hate, adoso. Non-delusion, amoha. So clearly again, non-greed doesn't give rise to greed. Rather, non-greed gives rise to non-greed. Non-hate doesn't give rise to hate. Rather, non-hate gives rise to non-hate. Non-delusion doesn't give rise to delusion. Rather, non-delusion just gives rise to non-delusion. And clearly, actions which are not rooted in hatred, non-hate, doesn't give rise to the hate, as in the bottom right picture. And the sutta continues. It's not because of this bond of non-greed, non-hate, and non-delusion that hell, the animal realm, the ghost realm, or any other places are found. So clearly, non-greed, non-hate, and non-delusion cannot propel you to the hell realms, the animal realm, the ghost realm, and other bad places. Rather, it's because of this bond of non-greed, non-hate, non-delusion that gods, humans, and those in any other good places are found. That of gods, meaning devas, humans, manusa, and beings in other good places. Places which are what the Pali words call sugating. So these are the 3 sources that give rise to deeds. So what are these so-called good places? And the top right-hand picture shows a kind of deva, but this deva is special. He has 4 faces. This deva has 4 faces. When the artistic rendition shows 4 faces, these are beings from the Brahma realms, very much higher than in the 31 realms of existence. Now, coming back to the 31 planes or realms of existence, just now we were introduced to the realms of or what we call, the Buddha said, bad places, realms of misery. We are familiar with happy destinations. Number 5 being human, Manusa Loka. Number 6, the 4 great kings, Chachu Maharajika. Number 6, the 4 great kings are indicated in the picture on the top right of this particular sharing. Okay, very familiar. The Chinese culture, we have these 4 great kings. And further up, higher in the Deva worlds, we have the heaven of the 33, Tavatimsa, where many Buddhists are familiar, where the Buddha went and spent some time to teach introduce the Abhidhamma to the Devas in that particular realm, as well as his late mother, Queen Mahamaya, who had passed away and was actually reborn into Sita heaven, which is number 9, and she came down to Tavatimsa to listen to the Buddha preach. Number 8, heaven of the Yama Devas, and of course number 9, Tusita. Then number 10, Devas of delight in creating. Number 11, Devas who delight in creation. And further up, number 12, realm existence number 12 to realm number 22, you have those Devas which normally we call Brahmas because we are very high up, and you qualify to be born there, you have to be meditators and accomplished meditators. So number 12 to the number 14, that realm requires that you have at least attained the first jhana, a unit of deep concentration. 15 to 17, you have attained the second jhana, even deeper levels of concentration. 18 to 20, the third level, third jhana. 21 to 22, the fourth jhana. Now, number 23 to 27, are reserved for those who have become Aryas, at least up to the third stage of enlightenment, Anagami. These planes of existence are called the pure abodes. So Anagamis, they are born there and they stay in this particular realm, 23 to 27, that range, and they continue practicing until they become Arahats. 28 to 31 are formless realms, Arupa Loka. They do not have bodies. So this is the list of 31 planes of existence. Now, in another sutta, the Samaditi Sutta, Sama means complete, perfect, or right. Diti meaning understanding. The sutta on right understanding from Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 9. Evam me sutang, so I have heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. So this is describing the Jetavana monastery just outside of Sanath. And Venerable Sariputta was addressing a group of monks at this particular monastery. A noble disciple. Now here, a noble disciple is one who is well practiced and may have attained different stages of enlightenment. A noble disciple understands the unskillful and its root. Here, talking about unskillful actions and its motivation, its root, and the skillful and its root. When they have done this, they are defined as a noble disciple who has right view or right understanding, whose understanding is correct, who has experiential confidence in the teaching and has come to the true teaching. Now, experiential confidence, avecha pasadena. Here, that particular word, experiential confidence, that particular Pali word can also be translated or rendered as experientially verified faith. So it's no more blind faith, it is verified. That means there's investigation involved, there's realization involved, and so on. It also means confirmed confidence. So noble disciples have confirmed confidence in the teaching and has come to the true teaching. Come to the true teaching. True teaching meaning Sat Dhamma, meaning probably some degree of enlightenment has occurred. So, but what is unskillful and what is its root? And what is the skillful and what is its root? Here this list is quite familiar to most Buddhists. The list of 10 unskillful actions. Not just in this particular sutta, as well as in the Saliyaka Sutta, also from the Majjhima Nikaya, also lists this list of 10 unskillful actions. It is an expansion of aspect of speech also, and so on. Okay, the first three, 1, 2, 3, that of abstinence from killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct is found in the 5 precepts. Number 4, speaking falsehood is also found in the 5 precepts. And the balance, 5 to 10, further expansion of speech as well as mind. Now, this list of 10 may be developed, as in the Saliyaka Sutta, into the 3, 4, 3. The first 3 being actions of body, that of killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. The 4 meaning aspect of speech, false speech, divisive speech, harsh speech, and nonsensical speech. And the last 3 to be actions of the mind, covetousness, ill will, and wrong view. Okay, so this is called the unskillful. Not the Pali which I emphasized, the word unskillful is called akusala. Now, and what is the root of the unskillful? It is rooted in greed, hate, and delusion. Lobha, dosa, and moha. This is called the root of the unskillful. And what is a skillful? Well, the direct opposite. Avoiding actions of killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. Avoiding speech that's false, divisive, harsh, and nonsensical. And cultivation of contentment, goodwill, and right view. Now, here, the further commentary indicates that these are the 10 ways of doing skillful deeds. the dasa meaning 10, kusala means wholesome, kamapata, what they call path of action. Okay, 10 ways of doing skillful deeds. So this is called the skillful. And skillful in Pali is kusala. Notice in this particular sutta, there has been no mention of what they call bad or good. We're talking about skillful and unskillful, kusala and akusala, and based on the roots. The roots determine the flavor, whether they are kusala or akusala, skillful or unskillful. And what is the root of the skillful? Non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. This is called the root of the skillful. In Dhammapada verse 16, the Buddha says, the doer of good rejoices, here and hereafter. So definitely the here aspect, when you perform good actions, you have an opportunity to rejoice. Here, that means in the balance of this life, and in the hereafter. He rejoices in both the worlds. He rejoices and exalts, recollecting his own pure deeds. Now, today being Uposatha is of interest, and I happen to extract this from the Uposatha Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 3. What should one do during an Uposatha? And here, Uposatha, the title of this particular series of sharings, I emphasize recollection of deities. But the first portion on this page, here the Buddha says, Evang me sutang, so I've heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in the eastern monastery, the stilt longhouse of Mingara's mother. Here we are talking about in Savatthi and in the eastern monastery, not in Jetavana, but in another monastery in Savatthi, near Savatthi, and the longhouse of Mingara's mother. Mingara's mother is pointing to Visakha, a female banner track, a millionaire who donated the eastern monastery to the Buddha and the Sangha's use. Mingara's mother, well, Mingara is talking about her father-in-law. That's another story. And the father-in-law regards Visakha as his mother, his spiritual mother, because she was wisely able to improve his understanding and wisely steer him away from what I call silly ideas. Now then Visakha, Mingara's mother, went up to the Buddha, bowed and sat down to one side. And the Buddha said to her, so Visakha, where are you going from in the middle of the day? Today, sir, I am observing the Uposatha. There are, Visakha, these 3 Uposatha, the Buddha said. What 3? The Uposatha of the cowherds, the Uposatha of the Jains. Jains means another religion, and the Uposatha of the noble ones. So these few slides concentrate on the Uposatha of the noble ones. And what is the Uposatha of the noble ones? A corrupt mind is cleansed by applying effort. And how is a corrupt mind cleansed by applying effort? It's when a noble disciple recollects the Buddha. Now, recollects. When earlier in the puja, we recollected the 9 virtues of the Buddha. Itipiso, Bhagava, Arahang, Samma, Sambuddho, and so on. Okay? Recollects, the realized one, is to go over, remember the Buddha versus his 9 qualities. And it's when a noble disciple recollects the teaching. This is the anusati, which means the recollection or contemplation of the Dhamma, the qualities of the Dhamma, which we went through earlier in the puja. Swakato, Bhagavata, Dhammo, and so on. It's when a noble disciple recollects the Sangha. So anusati, Sangang, means you recollect the virtues, the 9 virtues of the Arya Sangha. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. And then, in Uposatha, it's when a noble disciple recollects their own ethical conduct, which is unbroken, impeccable, spotless, unmarked, liberating, praised by sensible people, not mistaken, and leading to immersion. Immersion means into meditative concentration. Now, recollect your own ethical conduct. It means all of us have certain degrees of virtues. We may not be perfect, but we have certain degrees of virtues. When we recollect all the wholesome things within our psychic that we have been practicing and developing up to that point of reflection. And then it's when a noble disciple recollects the deities, Devata Anusarati. Now, recollects the deities. Why would you want to recollect the deities? What is it about? Well, here the Buddha says, a corrupt mind is cleansed by applying effort. And how is a corrupt mind cleansed by applying effort? Is when a noble disciple recollects the deities. This is the aspect, this portion of the sutta I want to emphasize. In the recollection, we recollect that the different planes of existence, they are the gods of the four great kings. The bottom right picture, okay, Deva, Chatu, Maharajika, the devas of the 33, the devas that reside in Tavatimsa heavens, or they are the deva world, gods or devas of Yama, the joyful gods Tusita, the gods who love to imagine, the gods who control what is imagined by others. And further beyond, requirement for those who meditate, the gods of Brahma's host, okay, and gods even higher than this. So here in the summary here are referring to the 31 planes of existence, which I won't show you, which I showed you earlier already. Now moving on, when those deities pass away from here, that means from the human realm, they are reborn there, that means in the Deva world, because of their faith. Faith here is Saddha, their confidence in the Buddha, their conviction in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, their faith. Ethics. Ethics means they've been practicing virtues. Sila. Learning. They've been learning the Dhamma. Sutta. S-U-T-A. And they've been cultivating generosity. Chaga. And within Chaga is a practice of Dana. Dana, giving, is part of generosity, as well as development of wisdom. So those people who have been, developing their confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, who have been cultivating virtues in their life, have been learning the Dhamma, they're practicing generosity, not just giving, but generosity, the wider aspect, as well as developing wisdom. As they recollect the faith, ethics, learning, generosity, and wisdom of both themselves and those deities, their minds becomes clear. Now, of both themselves and those deities, that means of yourself as you practice, and those deities. How did those people become deities? Because they have been practicing the same list of Saddha, Sila, Sutta, Chaga, and Panya. And that's why with these virtues, they get a chance to be reborn in the Deva worlds, whether the lower Deva worlds or in the Brahma worlds, and higher still. So when you recollect this, their mind becomes clear. Joy arises. Mental corruptions are given up. It's just like cleaning dirty gold by applying effort. And how is dirty gold cleansed by applying effort? With the furnace, flux, a blowpipe, and tongs, and by applying the appropriate effort. That's how dirty gold is cleansed, by applying effort. In the same way, a corrupt mind is cleansed by applying effort. And how is a corrupt mind cleansed by applying effort? It's when a noble disciple recollects the deities, okay? Using deities as an inspiration, as an example of how these living beings that practice the teachings of the Buddha and got themselves reborn in the Deva realms. So, recollecting the deities, how? There are the gods of the four great kings, the gods of the 33, the gods of Yama, the joyful gods, the gods who love to imagine, the gods who control what is imagined by others, the gods of Brahma hosts, the gods even higher than these. So when those deities pass away from here, they were reborn there because of their Saddha, because of their Sila, because of their Sutta, of their Chaga and Panya. I too have the same kind of faith, ethics, learning, generosity, and wisdom. So reflect within your own virtues. as the recollect the faith, ethics, learning, generosity, and wisdom of both themselves and those deities, their mind becomes clear. Joy arises. The mental corruptions are given up. And this is called a noble disciple who observe the opposata of the deities, living together with the deities. And because they think of the deities, their mind becomes clear, joy arises, mental corruptions are given up. And that's how a corrupt mind is cleansed by applying effort. All this, especially, is aided by, as mentioned in Dhammapada verse 21, heedfulness is the deathless path. Heedlessness, the path to death. The path to death means continue wandering in samsara. Those who are heedful do not die. Heedless are like the dead. Now, further on this particular yet another sutta, the Dutiya Mahanama Sutta from Anguttara Nikaya Book of 11. Here, the Buddha, at one time, the Buddha was staying in the land of the Sakyans near Kapilavatthu in the Banyan Tree Monastery. Now, at that time, Mahanama, the Sakyan, in fact, he was a cousin of Prince Siddhartha, had recently recovered from an illness. So, when a noble disciple recollects the faith or saddha, ethics or sila, learning, sutta, generosity, chaga, and wisdom, panya, of both themselves and the deities, their mind is not full of greed, hate, and delusion. This is the key point. At that time, their mind is unswerving, based on the deities. The noble disciple whose mind is unswerving finds inspiration in the meaning and the teaching, and finds joy connected with the teaching. When they are joyful, rapture springs up. So rapture is a meditative aspect of mind. When the mind is full of rapture, the body becomes tranquil. When the body is tranquil, they feel bliss. And when they are blissful, the mind becomes immersed in samadhi or concentration. They should develop this recollection of the deities while walking, standing, sitting, lying down, while working, and while at home with your children. So the Buddha was advising this relative of his Mahanama on how to develop this. The top part of this page is clearly indicating meditative stages, getting deeper and deeper into samadhi. So in the end, what did the Buddha teach? Some people might, your friends, relatives, and sometimes for us to remind ourselves, what did the Buddha teach? Sabba papa sakaranang kusala upasampada sacitta parirapanang etang buddhana sasanang. That we should avoid all evil, do good or do wholesome actions, purify your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. So that was the coverage of blessing number 21 in the Mangala Sutta, that of diligence in practice of what is Dhamma. May you have a fruitful Uposatha today. Saddhammo cirang titatu. May the good doctrine long endure. Sabbe satta sukhi hontu. May all beings be happy. Back to you, Didi Terence.
Thank you very much, Brother Ananda, for today's sharing. Now, let's dedicate marriage that we have accrued to all beings, whether they are seen or unseen. Akasata cha bummata deva naga mahidika punyang tammanamoditva ciram rakkantu lokasasanang ettavata ca amhehi sampadang punya sampadang Sabbe Dewa Sabbe Bhuta Sabbe Sattha Anumodantu Sabba Sampatti Siddhya. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. And aspirations. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo tu yavani banapattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you everyone for watching. For other videos, please visit the links below. Bye-bye for now. See you all again next week.
Thank you,
Have
Brother
a nice
Dhamma.
weekend.